0. This was added by EcoStretch. EcoStretch been putting in a lot of work over the past several weeks to get this out, so we can now jailbreak the PS5 up to 8.00. Now if you're a little confused, we can technically jailbreak all the way up to 10.01. At least 10.01 is the highest jailbreakable firmware so far, but without KStuff support, we can't actually run any of our PS for fake packages or any of our PS5 game dumps, and certain homebrew applications cannot run on those higher firmwares until we get KStuff support. So up until this point we could only jailbreak up to 7.61. However, with KStuff now supporting 8.00, we can now go one update higher and jailbreak up to 8.00 with this KStuff release. Now not only is 8.00 KStuff a release that you can download here from the GitHub repo, which will be left in the description along with everything else you need, we also have the dump runner updated as well for 8.00, which allows us to run our PS5 game dumps using just KStuff, and the homebrew launcher from John Tormlum. So that is updated there as well. And of course, KStuff for 8.00 also has the DLC fix implemented as well. So it works all the way up to 8.00 now, so you can run your PS for fake package games with DLC installed normally, and the DLC will work. As so that has also been included, so a few good updates there. So in order to actually jailbreak on 8.00, it requires the Japanese games to run the exploit, because unfortunately, all of the previous methods to load the jailbreak have been patched up to 8.0. So obviously the Blu-ray exploit was patched in 8.00 and the web browser exploit was patched much further back. So unfortunately the Lua exploit is the only option, so you need one of the supported Japanese games from this list. So you need to have a physical copy of one of those games that you can then install and run on the console to load the save file, and then you need to get the modified save file installed here, so you can download the remote Lua loader from here. Now there's a couple of different ways that you can get the save installed. You can either use a backup file, like one of Master S9's latest backups, which you can install. All you have to do is download the backup file and extract the PS5 folder to the root of your USB drive. Plug that USB drive into the PS5. Head over to the system settings and go to the backup and restore option, and just select the option to restore the backup. Make sure you obviously back up your own system before restoring somebody else's backup, because when you restore someone else's backup, it will essentially reset the console, so you'll lose your save files and settings, and maybe certain applications you have installed. So make sure that you make a backup first on your USB drive of your own system, and then copy that somewhere safe on your computer, and then restore the backup with the modified save files to be able to run the exploit from your Japanese game. So that's one option, of course. The other option is that, if you're lucky enough to have had your PS5 connected to PSN at some point in the past, and you still have that same profile on your console from when it was connected to PSN, then your account is online activated, which means you have the ability to copy save files between the hard drive and the USB on your PS5. In that case, you can basically just create a new save file on your Japanese game, and then simply head into the settings and go to the Save Data and Game App settings. And then from there you can simply go to Save Data for PS4. And then go to Upload or Delete from console storage. And then you have the option to copy to USB drive. So you can simply copy the save file for the Japanese game to the USB. At which point you can then either use the free Discord save bot to decrypt the save file and replace the decrypted save data with the one from the remote Lua loader, or you can use Apollo Save Tool. If you have a jailbroken PS4 or know somebody who does, they can use the Apollo Save tool to basically do the same thing. All you have to do is make sure that the account on the PS4 is activated with the same account ID as the PSN account that's being used on the PS5. You can find your PS5's account ID by heading to psn.flipscreen.games, entering your PSN username of the account and clicking submit. You can copy that account ID and simply paste it into a decimal to hex converter. And that's the ID that you want to activate on the jailbroken PS4. And then from there all you have to do is copy the save file from the USB to the hard drive using the Apollo Save tool. Then go to your HDD saves on the Apollo Save tool. Select the save file and copy it back to the USB drive. And that will get the decrypted save data copied to the USB. Then all you have to do is plug that USB drive back into your computer and then open up the PS4. Save the decrypted version from the Apollo folder on your computer. There is also the other Lua loader, which automatically loads the payloads for you. That one is normally my recommended one to go for. The problem is I've had like zero success actually getting it to load. The lapse exploit so far, I've tried loading it like 10 times, and it would just fail every single time. So for me the remote Lua loader seems to be more stable at the moment with 8.00. So that's just the one I'm going to use here. So basically, we just go to the code, download it as a zip file, and then simply open up that zip file. Go into the save data folder, and copy all the files from the save data folder into the decrypted save data for your USB. And that will get the save file installed. You then just plug that back into the jailbroken PS4. Go back to USB saves, press square to refresh, which will then show the save file without the padlock symbol, which is the one that is decrypted, and that is the one we modified. So we select that with X and then copy it to HDD again. And that will get the decrypted save, now turned into an encrypted save for the console. At which point you can then exit out of the Apollo Save tool, head over to Application Save Data Management in the system settings, and go to console storage and simply copy it to the USB drive. And that will copy the encrypted version of the modified save to the USB. Once that's done, we can plug that USB drive back into our PS5. And then from there, we can go back to our game app settings again on the PS5. And this time, we can select save data on PS4 and copy or delete from the USB. And then simply select the save file on the USB and copy that to the system storage. And that is how you get the save file installed. Again, you don't have to use another jailbroken PS4 to do this. You can also do the same thing with swapping out the decrypted save, and then re-encrypting that back into an encrypted save, and installing it back on the console. You can do the same thing using the free Discord save bots as well, like the ones on the Atos Discord server. So that is another option. But basically, those are the ways that you get the save file copied over to your console. So once we have a working version of the save file on our console, we can get set up here to run the jailbreak. So what we need to do is, first of all, if I head over to my settings, we need to connect to our network. So if we go to our network settings, our settings set up an internet connection, and then just press the options button on your registered network and go to advanced settings. And then from here we want to make sure that we have a DNS enabled. So if we go to DNS settings, we'll set a manual DNS and just use 6 to DOT to 10 DOT3 8 DOT 117, and that will get our DNS blocker there to block updates while allowing us to connect to the network, which we need to be able to use the remote Lua loader. So we'll just let it get connected back up to the network. It will say cannot connect to internet, that is normal, but it is actually connected, because if we go into system software and console information, we can see that we do in fact have an IP address there, 19.168.1 so that's all good. At this point all we need to do is run our Japanese game. And what that's gonna do is run the remote Lua loader. Now if you're using the backup method, it might just run the auto Lua loader, which you can try with that. But generally I think there is normally 2 profiles with that backup, and one of the profiles has the remote Lua loader on it, and the other one has the automatic Lua loader on it. So obviously, you're gonna want to sign into the profile that uses the RLL version, the remote Lua loader version. Sign into that profile which has this version of the save. That runs the remote Lua loader instead of the auto loader. But anyway, as you can see, once we get it running, we get listening on our IP address on port 9026 on PS5 8.00 firmware. So at this point, if we switch back over to our PS4, a few things we want. Obviously, the remote Lua loader we've already downloaded. We also want to grab at this PS remote Lua loader from Master S or Master S9, so just go ahead and download this. Makes it a little bit easier for sending the payload, so we're gonna go ahead and download that. And then of course I also recommend having Netcat GUI, and obviously our case stuff for 8.00 from Echo Stretch. So at this point, what we're gonna do is open up the remote Lua loader, and then go into the payloads folder. Then open up the PS remote Lua loader from Master S9. And we're just going to go into the files here, payloads, and basically replace all of the payloads in here with the one from the latest Lua loader release, just to make sure you have the latest payloads updated. So we're just gonna go ahead and do that, and then we can go ahead and run this program. We want to enter our PS5's IP address in here. 1 DOT to 17 port should be 9026. And then all we need to do is send the lapse payload here. So let's see what happens. We'll click lapse. It may not work successfully the first time, so we'll just give it some time. And yep, that was successful. There we go, look at that. So worked first time there cleaning up. So obviously, if you do not get the done exploit state saved into storage, if you do not get this message with debug settings enabled, then obviously it failed, so you'll have to restart and try again. So we can close out of that now. And now run the ELF loader, LF loader. So we'll select that option. Next we switch over to our PS5. You can see it's loaded the ELF loader there on screen. And then finally we just need to actually send the KStuff payload. Now using a payload injector like Netcat GUI. I'll leave this one in the description. So we'll open this up. 192168DOT1DOT217 port number 4. This is 90. You take the kstuff.elf file downloaded from EchoStretch's repo and you just inject the payload. And there we go. As you can see, KStuff loaded successfully, and that is basically it. So you've now got the exploit set up. So we can go ahead and exit out of our Japanese game. That's used to load the exploit there. And we now have KStuff successfully running. Check that out. So okay. So just as a demonstration here, I've got my USB drive with a bunch of PS4 DLC for Black Ops 3. Because of course this version of KStuff has the DLC fix. So we should be able to not only just install and run our fake packages but also run the DLC content as well. Install the DLC packages and get those working too. And of course I've got a PS5 game. So this is a PS5 game that we'll also test. In order to get your PS5 games working at the moment, we can use the dump runner that was also updated for 8.00 by EchoStretch. So with the dump runner, all we need to do is basically on our USB, we can create a new folder called Homebrew. And then just take any PS5 game dump folders and copy them into the Homebrew folder. And then inside our game app folder, that contains the game files for our PlayStation 5 game. We can basically extract the dump runner contents into that folder, which is the dumprunner.elf and the homebrew.js. So we can just copy those in there, and then that should make this game loadable. So for the web server payloads, you can download it from this repo, PS5 payload dev from John Thornblum web server. So if we go down here and show all assets, we can download the payload here, web server-ps5.elf. And of course you want to head back to the main project itself and scroll down and download the launcher package as well, which will give you the package file, which you can copy over to the root of your USB drive and install with the debug settings, package installer. So if we unplug that USB and plug it into the PS5, however, we do need to run the WebServe payload. So this is a John Thornblum's WebServe payload. So we want to get this payload loaded as well. So to do that, I'll just open up Netcat GUI again, and then take the WebServe payload, load that in on port 902. Again, we can just inject payload, and then that should run that on the PS5. There it is, so there we go. That should be it. So let's see if we can get our PS4 fake packages, with DLC and everything working. So if I head into settings and go to debug settings, game package installer, we've of course got our homebrew loader package file here for running our PS5 game dumps, and all of these DLC packages for Black Ops 3 that I'll install. And of course this will hopefully get all the DLC working for my fake package version of Black Ops 3. Okay, so that's all the DLC installed. Just installing the homebrew loader as well for our PS5 game. And there we go, everything is now good. So if we press options, manage game contents, as you can see all of our DLC shows up. Kind of cool that on 8.00, and I'm not sure when they changed this, but I remember like checking my 4.03 system and it would just say like 6 items installed. It wouldn't actually list them, but like you can actually see them all showing up here as installed. Not sure why Newtown bonus map is apparently not installed, but everything else is installed. So if we go ahead and run this, so this is a PS4 fake package game running on 8.00 with all the DLC installed normally. So it should show up with this updated version of KStuff. Okay, and there it is, we have the game loaded up. If I just check the zombie map packs, you can see we have them all installed. So all the DLC is working. So we've got our PS4 fake packages running on 8.00 with this version of KStuff with working DLC content now. No need to merge the DLC content with the update file, like we had to do in the past, so a big improvement there. And as for our PS5 game dumps, we can use the homebrew launcher that I installed. And hopefully this will get it up and running. So there it is, there's the High on Life PS5 version of the game here showing up. And I'll try and launch this. And if I just press circle to close, it should start running the game. And there is PS5 games also running on 8.00 with this exploit. So I know the installation was a little bit complicated, and that's because it's not really been streamlined yet for ease of use, so we still have to use the remote Lua loader. Technically it might work occasionally with the auto Lua loader, but for me it just fails too many times for it to be worth using that at the moment. So yeah, the remote Lua loader just seems to work a little bit better. It's more stable, but anyway, that's just a rough way of getting things set up right now. In the early stages of this exploit of this firm, we're getting support, but hopefully, things will kind of smooth out over time, and there'll be an easier way to kind of handle this in the future with the auto loader, and then I'll come back and cover it more in depth with a more in-depth beginner's guide once everything is up and running fully. So anyway, that's gonna do it here for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed this video or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And once again, I'll hopefully see you guys in the next